The day I decided to stop dreaming. I still remember the day when my dreams began to suffocate me. Strange as it sounds, my dreams, those bright castles in the sky, started to feel like iron chains around my ankles. I had ideas, plans, wishes, but no results. I woke up every morning with the same promise to myself. One day. But that one day never came. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. The man staring back at me wasn't the visionary I claimed to be. He was tired. He was worried. He was stuck. I felt shame rise in my chest like fire. I was sick of repeating the same excuses. I was sick of hearing my own voice tell me, "Tomorrow you'll start. Tomorrow you'll be great." I realized then that my biggest enemy wasn't poverty. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't the government, my boss, or the economy. My biggest enemy was me. My hesitation, my fear, my habit of postponing action while hiding behind beautiful dreams. That day, I did something terrifyingly simple. I sat down at my old wooden desk, opened my notebook, and wrote just 3 words. No more waiting. I didn't know exactly how I'd succeed, but I knew I had to move. Napoleon Hill said, "Don't wait. The time will never be just right." I clung to those words like a drowning man clings to a lifeboat. When you decide to stop waiting, the world changes. It doesn't suddenly become easier. No, it becomes clearer. You see how much time you've wasted waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect plan, the perfect moment. There's no such thing. I started with what I had: my mind, my ideas, and an old laptop. I wrote out everything I wanted: a comfortable home for my family, enough money to help my parents, freedom to travel, and freedom from fear. I looked at my list and felt a cold chill. Could I really do this? But then I asked a better question. What if I don't? What if I keep waiting for 5 more years? 10? Will I wake up one day too old, too tired, and too full of regrets to even try? That thought hit me harder than any failure ever could. So, I started small. I made a commitment. Every day, I would do at least one thing that pushed me closer to my dream. One email, one phone call, one page written, one new skill learned. I replaced wishful thinking with daily action. That's all I could control. I couldn't control luck, the weather, the market. But I could control my next step. I turned my bedroom into my headquarters. My phone became my secretary. My notebook became my map. And every evening, I reviewed my day with ruthless honesty. Did I wait, or did I move? Slowly, results came. Not miracles, results. A client said yes. A tiny check arrived. A new contact opened a door. And with each small victory, my old excuses died a quiet death. Of course, fear didn't vanish overnight. Sometimes at 2 a.m., I'd lie awake worrying. What if I fail? What if this is pointless? But I had found an answer. I was already failing by doing nothing. Action was my only escape. I remember reading Hill's line, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." The words glowed in my head like a neon sign. I didn't just repeat them, I tested them. I took my ideas and made them real, step by painful step. Did I stumble? Absolutely. I made embarrassing mistakes. I lost money. I trusted the wrong people. But every failure taught me something school never did. Failure is just tuition for success. One evening, sitting at that same old desk, I realized something profound. I had become the kind of person who acts, not dreams, not wishes. Acts. That was the first priceless treasure I dug up on this journey, my new identity. I was no longer a prisoner of tomorrow. I had broken free by paying today's price. If you're listening to this, remember, you don't need permission to begin. You don't need more inspiration. You don't need someone to save you. You need movement. Don't underestimate what happens when you replace waiting with doing. It doesn't feel dramatic at first, but day by day, invisible seeds grow under the surface. People notice. Opportunities appear. You change. That day, I fired my old self, the dreamer who never acted, and I hired a new me, a worker, a learner, a builder of my own fortune. If you're stuck in the same cycle I was, wake up, dream big, do nothing, then maybe today can be your no more waiting day too. Building my fortune, brick by brick. Once I accepted that no one was coming to save me, I gave myself the greatest gift a person can hold: responsibility. I stopped blaming my childhood, my lack of connections, my bad luck. I owned my future. My first strategy was simple but powerful. I built new habits. Hill wrote about this endlessly. Success is never one giant leap. It's a staircase, climbed one step at a time. So I asked myself, what habits does a wealthy mind have? The answers weren't glamorous. Wake up early, read daily, keep notes, plan tomorrow tonight. Talk to people who are better than you. Listen more than you speak. Take calculated risks. I disciplined myself to act on these answers, even when I hated it. I woke up at dawn when my body begged for sleep. I read pages I didn't always understand. I forced myself to make uncomfortable phone calls to people who ignored me at first. I learned to sell ideas. I learned to negotiate. I learned to stay calm when I heard the word no 100 times. I learned to hear no as not yet. I built partnerships. I offered value before asking for favors. I wrote proposals. Some were terrible. Some got me laughed out of offices. But one day, one of those proposals stuck, and that deal doubled my income overnight. Every small victory was another brick. I stacked them with care. I reinvested every extra dollar into my growth: books, mentors, courses. I protected my energy like it was gold. I avoided the people who drained me with negativity and excuses. Hill said, "You are the master of your destiny." These weren't just pretty words to me anymore. They became my compass. When people asked how I stayed motivated, I laughed. I wasn't always motivated. I was committed. Commitment is stronger than motivation. There were nights I almost gave up. There were days I envied my friends who worked normal jobs, clocked out at 5, and didn't carry the weight of big dreams. But then I remembered, I was buying my freedom with every sacrifice. As money began to flow, I learned to control it. I didn't waste it on shiny toys. I invested in my skills, my network, my brand. I kept my lifestyle simple. I let my fortune grow quietly while people around me wondered what I was really doing. Looking back, I see that my biggest breakthrough wasn't the money itself. It was the person I became. I stopped being the man who needed permission. I became the man who gives himself permission. I learned that your fortune is not a lottery ticket. It's a building. You lay each brick yourself. An idea here, a call there, an early morning, a sleepless night, a risk that pays off. Most people stand outside this building, peeking through the window, saying, "One day." But some people, those who understand Hill's truth, pick up the hammer and build. Today, I'm still building. I'm not done, and I never will be. That's the beautiful part. There is no finish line. There's just the next brick, the next idea, the next deal, the next person to help. And if you're wondering if you can do it too, yes, you can. Not because you're special, but because action is powerful. Action doesn't care about your background. Action respects discipline, persistence, and faith. So stop waiting. Open your notebook. Write your 3 words. No more waiting. And then build your fortune, brick by brick, until your dreams no longer suffocate you, but set you free. The unseen law. You get what you give. If there's one thing I wish someone had drilled into my mind sooner, it's this. Life does not hand you what you want. It hands you what you plant. There is no shortcut around this. There is no secret door. There is only this invisible but iron rule. You get what you give. When I first read Hill's words, the world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. I didn't fully understand it, but now I know. The universe, or fate, or God, or whatever you call it, doesn't reward your wishes. It rewards your work, your intention, your persistence. Back then, I spent years planting weeds. I filled my days with distractions, excuses, half-hearted attempts. I wanted to reap a harvest of wealth, freedom, and respect. But all I got was anxiety, regret, and envy. Looking back, it's obvious. You cannot sow nothing and expect something. One evening, in my tiny rented room, I wrote a question at the top of a blank page. What seeds am I planting today? That simple question changed my life. I saw for the first time that every thought, every action, every word I spoke, all of it was a seed. If I planted doubt, I harvested fear. If I planted procrastination, I harvested regret. If I planted blame, I harvested powerlessness. But if I planted courage, even in tiny moments, I harvested opportunities. From that night on, I took responsibility for my seeds. I stopped poisoning my own field with negative people, pointless gossip, and self-pity. It was not easy. Some friends left. Some family members thought I was arrogant for saying no to unproductive habits. But the price of staying the same was far higher than the price of change. I began each morning by asking, what can I give today? Not, what can I get? That was the biggest shift. Instead of chasing quick money, I focused on adding real value, listening to people's problems, solving them better than anyone else, being reliable when others were flaky. Napoleon Hill was right. Riches rarely appear overnight. They grow in places you least expect. A stranger you helped for free who later becomes your biggest client. An idea you tested at 1 a.m. that turns into a thriving business. A tiny favor returned tenfold years later. One deal didn't make me rich. 10 deals didn't. But 10,000 acts of giving my time, my energy, my trust, built a network, a reputation, a foundation so solid that my fortune had nowhere to go but up. So if you're listening to me now, frustrated because you see no results yet, remember this. The seeds you plant today are invisible at first. Nothing seems to happen. But the law works silently. A seed does not scream as it grows. It works in the dark. So must you. Keep your faith alive by taking action every single day. You cannot see the roots forming underground, but they're forming. I'd like to tell you about the moment I first felt the harvest. It wasn't when I got my first big check. It wasn't when I moved into my dream house. It was a small moment, one rainy evening, when a young man messaged me, "Your words made me start my own business." I just got my first client. Thank you. In that instant, I knew this is how the law works. You plant in one field, you reap in another. You help a stranger, and a door opens somewhere you never expected. I didn't just build a fortune. I built a life that multiplies value for me, my family, and strangers I'll never meet. That is wealth beyond money. Practical steps to plant good seeds. People often ask me, what should I actually do today? Here's what I tell them, and what I still tell myself when I feel lost. 1. Give more than you promise. Don't just meet expectations. Smash them. Deliver early. Add bonuses. Help without being asked. The world remembers givers, not takers. 2. Protect your mind. Your mind is your field. Trash in, trash out. Feed it good books, strong people, clear ideas. Cut off gossip, drama, and distractions. 3. Track your seeds. Every night write down, what did I plant today? Did you move closer to your dream or drift away? Be brutally honest. 4. Build relationships, not transactions. Don't look at people as wallets. Look at them as partners. Serve them. Understand their problems better than they do. Become irreplaceable. 5. Expect nothing, but trust the law. Don't obsess over when the harvest will come. Trust that it will. Stay busy planting. Let the results surprise you. Why most people ignore this. The hardest part is patience. In a world addicted to speed, people want overnight results, so they quit before the roots grow deep. They rip the seed out of the ground because they can't see it sprout fast enough. I almost did that 1,000 times. But every time I felt weak, I reread Hill's reminder. Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success.